Hi, I'm Crystal, and this is Build a Lease. Today, we're talking about something renters ask about constantly: how to actually get approved for an apartment. Because property manager truth, most denials aren't random, they're predictable. If your income doesn't meet this requirement, approvals get much harder. Most renters know about the three times the rent rule, but almost nobody understands how it's actually calculated. One of the biggest approval factors in apartments is incomes. Most properties use what's called the three times the rent guideline, meaning your total monthly income should typically be about three times the rent. But here's where people get confused. It's usually about gross income before taxes, not what you take home. So if an apartment rents for $1,800 a month, a property might be looking for around $5,400 in gross monthly income, but income isn't just about hitting the number. Leasing offices also look at how reliable that income is. For example, full-time employment with consistent pay usually looks stronger than fluctuating gig income. If someone just started a new job, the property might request additional documentation like a signed job offer letter, recent pay stubs, bank statements showing deposits, etc. Another thing renters often don't realize is that combined income is usually allowed. If two roommates apply together, their incomes are typically added to meet the requirement. And if income falls slightly below the threshold, approval may still be possible, but you could see stuff like higher security deposits, a cosigner requirement, or even a conditional approval. The important thing to remember is that leasing offices aren't trying to make the process difficult. They're trying to make sure the rent is financially sustainable for the resident, because a renter who can comfortably afford their apartment is far less likely to run into problems later. Your credit score matters, but the score itself isn't always the biggest issue. When apartments run a credit screening, they're not just looking at the credit score or the number itself. They're looking at risk patterns. Screening reports often flag credit items like unpaid utility collections, previous rental collections, recent missed payments, and high outstanding balances. One thing renters are often surprised by is that housing-related collections carry way more weight than anything else on your report. For example, a past unpaid apartment balance or eviction filing will almost always be taken more seriously than something like an old medical bill. Another factor leasing offices notice is recency. A collection from 6 years ago may not be as concerning as missed payments from the last 6 months. Consistency matters more than perfection. Some properties also use automated screening systems, which assign risk scores based on credit data. That means the approval decision can sometimes be partially automated, which could be for your favor or against it. If your credit score is lower than the property standard, you may still see options like conditional approval, higher security deposits, or a cosigner requirement. Understanding that process helps renters prepare before applying instead of being surprised by the results. Building good credit literally takes years. And I will say this all the time. I spend a lot of time online and I see video after video of people who are just not giving a care of the world about their credit. Your credit is actually quite important as you get on in life. When you go to buy your dream car, you need good credit. When you go to buy your dream house, you need good credit. If you're ready to start a business, you need somewhat good credit if you're going to get any sort of loans or apply for, scholarships, grants, whatever for your business, because those exist too. So my takeaway from my journey in credit is to start as early as you can. As early as you can. I still have my credit card from when I was 20 years old. I am not closing that account. My credit would take a 100-point hit, and I am not about that life. Took me too long to build it up, to break it down with one account. Your previous landlord may matter more than your credit score. If you've rented before, many properties check your rental history. We're looking at your previous landlord references, your payment history, your lease compliance, and your eviction records. We're going to look at your whole rental history, and we want it to tell us what kind of resident you are. Were you a reliable resident? Did you pay rent on time? Did you follow the lease terms? Did you leave the unit in reasonable condition? A renter with moderate credit may be a stronger candidate for an apartment and look less risky than someone with good credit but no rental experience. This is why building positive rental references early matters. Even small habits like just communicating with management and paying rent on time consistently can affect your future approvals. When I was a property manager, our approval system took so long, let me tell you. Sending rental verifications was one of the parts of an approval process that took the longest because we had to send a fax, This landlord wouldn't even let us have a business email. We had to send a fax to the properties, and it was just a little one-page thing just to verify if the person lived there, how was their rental history, all that good stuff. And sometimes, especially in properties that had a lot of younger staff that didn't understand how a fax machine worked, it would take so long to get those rental verifications back. I despise doing them. They were so easy to send out and so easy to do, but with everything that you're doing in the office, they would take so much time. So much time. Some rental applications get denied before they're even fully reviewed. One of the most overlooked parts of the approval process is the application itself. Leasing offices process a huge number of applications, and incomplete or inconsistent information can raise immediate red flags. Some of the mistakes that I remember seeing are missing income documents, incorrect employment information, leaving sections blank. Oh my God, don't do that. Mismatch information and mismatch information between documents. For example, if your income on the application doesn't match what your pay stubs are saying, I'm gonna probably request clarification, and that can delay your approval. And these delays can matter, especially in a competitive rental market where multiple applicants could be interested in the same unit, because that happens a lot. The strongest applications are complete, organized, and easy to verify. That means providing documentation quickly and ensuring that it is all accurate. Sometimes the difference between approval and delay is simply how prepared the application is. I had a 4-day rule when it came to approving applications. A lot of times I would get incomplete applications, and it was really, really, really annoying because trying to chase someone down, especially in today's telemarketer age where people do not answer their phones from a number that they don't recognize, is so annoying. So let's just say in my 4-day rule, you turn in your application on day 1. I'm going to start the process on day 1. And if I run into an issue, I'm going to call you every day for the next 3 days. And if I can't get a hold of you on your personal number or your work number, or even at your mama's house, your application is going to get a pink stamp that says denied, put in a folder, and stuck away. Because I can't do anything with it. If I have 10 rentals that are ready to go right now and 20 applications, I cannot waste too much time on the one that I can't verify. I just can't do it. My job is to get people into their new apartment. And if you're holding up the process, I gotta put you to the side. That's just what happens. If your income or credit doesn't meet a property's requirements, some communities allow cosigners or even guarantors. A cosigner is someone who agrees to take financial responsibility for the lease if the rent isn't paid. Because of that responsibility, cosigners typically have to meet higher financial standards than regular applicants. Oftentimes, they're going to need a strong credit history, a higher income, meet a higher income threshold, and have provable, stable financial documentation. In more recent years, some renters have even used third-party guarantor services, which act as institutional cosigners. These companies charge a fee, but can help renters qualify for apartments when a traditional cosigner isn't available. This option can be especially helpful for students who with no rental history, first-time rentals who also have no rental history, or people relocating from abroad for work, which happens a lot more than people know. In my experience, cosigner qualifications are really not that crazy. I've heard some stories, but for the properties that I work for, our cosigners only needed to have really great credit, only, and they needed to make 5 times the rent in order to afford, their own housing payments and the payment for the lease that they're co-signing. I remember scrolling on Reddit not too long ago, and I saw a person had posted from Chicago or New York or something like that they couldn't qualify for the apartment even though they made 4 times the rent. So they needed to have a co-signer who made 7 times the rent. 7 times on a $2,000 apartment. That's $14K a month. What job is that? Because I might need to change industries. Getting approved for an apartment isn't about being perfect. It's about showing that you're a reliable, low-risk renter. That usually comes down to a few key things: stable income, responsible credit habits, positive rental history, and a complete application. When renters understand how the approval process works, they can approach apartment hunting with much more confidence, and we're all about the confidence. Because once you understand the system behind the lease, the process becomes much less mysterious. And remember, cute apartment, serious contract.